Changes turn and face the strange. In the words of David Bowie, there's going to be a lot of changes for this game. Absolutely. Guys, welcome back to another video. How are you all doing today? Are you well? Are you happy? Of course, this morning I did the STNA San. Big old stream. It was great fun. We chatted all things Manchester City. We chatted the Nottingham Forest game. We chatted the Newcastle game. We chatted Calvin Phillips, Doku Nunes. It was wonderful. Absolutely loads to talk about. Go and give that a watch if you haven't already. I guarantee you'll really enjoy it. It's a cracking stuff. But of course, football doesn't wait around. One great hour-long chat and podcast earlier, but still, we've got to move forward. We've got to look forward because City play Newcastle tomorrow. Newcastle United at St James's Park in the Carabao Cup. And I'm sort of like, it's a weird one. I don't know how I feel about this game of football. I mean, I love this competition. I do. I absolutely love this competition. But this is a competition that Guardiola said earlier that he doesn't want to waste 1% of his energy on. Let me just find the exact quote. Guardiola, the quote was, I can't find it. It's something about, like, Guardiola said he doesn't want to waste 1% of his energy on the Carabao Cup, which is, that's painful to hear from me. As a man who absolutely values and appreciates this tournament, Pep basically just admitted that he's going to throw it in the bin. Unless we get through somehow, which would be impressive anyway. But this is where we're at. So, like, how do we approach this game? Who is going to play? What kind of team would it be? Should it be a stronger team? Can it be a stronger team? Who's going to come up from the academy, if anyone at all? There's loads of questions today ahead of this game. Of course, we'll talk about Newcastle a little bit as well. We'll talk about certain individuals and what we can expect from them. We'll try and predict the 11 somehow. Try and predict the bench somehow. I've also got Alex Hurst as well. A Newcastle fan from the True Faith True Faith podcast and True Faith Newcastle United podcast, who's I've got some words as well about Newcastle and how they're taking this, so it's going to be interesting. Don't forget, please do subscribe to the channel if you are new here. It does help support the channel, and please give the video a like as well if you're enjoying this kind of content. It all helps, you know. It really genuinely does help, especially when I'm putting out content pretty regularly. I'm trying to do a lot at the moment, and hopefully you're enjoying all this stuff over here, like, you know, the STNAs and podcasts and the 5 Things Learned and the fan views and all this kind of stuff, and I've really gone for it recently, so fingers crossed you're enjoying it. If so, please do give the video a big old like. It is appreciated. So let's get into this game. What do we know about this game of football? Of course, it's our first game in the Carabao Cup. Guardiola has already pretty much admitted that it's not a priority for Manchester City this season, which is a shame. And maybe Naz is right in the chat. Maybe actually we'll see a full strength 11 tomorrow, and it'll be a double bluff from Guardiola, though I don't think it. I hope you're right. Of course, Naz is in the chat there as well. Please do get your comments in, and please do say hello. I can see Deshaun Matthew, Alela, Tommy Coleman's in there, Shax, Gabrielle, Lesbian Kiwi, which is an incredible name, Ryan, Only Boy in the Village, Victor. It's good to see you all here. Say hello. Introduce yourself. Tell me an interesting fact about yourself. That's a good time. Predict the 11. Whatever. Give the video a like. All those things. It's good. So let's go to the press conference quotes. That's always like a good place to start, isn't it? We'll go to the press conference quotes. We've got Guardiola admitting that Calvin Phillips starts tomorrow. He said the game for Calvin will be important, and we will see how it goes. He said on Calvin Phillips, not just this week, but for many times since he arrived, he's been really important. His consistency and does everything in the game after what happened against Nottingham. It was more defensive, resilient defend, and helped us breathe. The important thing is that when you act in the smaller spaces, we try to help him. The game tomorrow is important. Every single game will decide what's best for the team. Okay, there's interesting quotes there. I mean, he said, I think he's been a little bit facetious, talking about how important he's been, given he's barely played any football. We know Guardiola can sort of exaggerate, you know, or try and lift up maybe the words there, because it's obviously not true that he hasn't been important so far. But it is true that he could be important right now. We're going to need him to step up. Look, Calvin Phillips has come out and said as well, this is the biggest week of his Manchester City career potentially. And it's interesting to me, like, I hope it goes well. I have reached the point where I sort of feel sorry for Calvin. Like, I really want him to do well. I just do. I'm not exaggerating. I want him to do well. He seems a lovely lad. But I can't help notice the absolute I don't know, the chasms of importance that both the player and the manager putting on this game. There's a huge disconnect. Guardiola's talking about this game not even being wasting 1% of his energy, and Calvin Phillips is here talking about it being the most important week of his life. And to me, I'm thinking, he doesn't really care about this, Calvin. And I know it means a lot for you, but I don't think he really cares about this. And like, I might be wrong there, but there are his words. And I think it's just sort of indicative of where he currently stands, which I think is a bit of a sad realization. But I mean, still, having said that, it is a competitive game of football. It is a trophy, you know. And if he does impress, even if Guardiola just wishes this game was out of the way to an extent, it still is a chance to make a little bit of a market and get some game time finally. I can't shake the feeling it's just the case he's going to play because we've got no one else, as opposed to I don't think Pepsi's an option still, but we'll see. We will see, man. We will see. That's how it goes. I know I'm being cynical there, but I'm not being cynical for negative reasons. I'm being cynical. That's just honestly how I see the picture currently. I want to be wrong. I want Guardiola to be looking at Calvin Phillips with sincerity as an option. I don't see it yet, but fingers crossed that will happen because we're going to need him, man. We're going to need him. He talked about, you know, the weight of expectation. He said all those extra competitions and games are coming, but we don't worry about that. We focus on what's ahead. Leipzig and Arsenal are so important, so I have to take that into consideration. We don't want another injury, so we must remember that. Hence the changes. He's basically saying we're going to make an awful lot of changes because Leipzig, Arsenal, you know, these are massive games. Brighton, United coming up as well. Look, it's going to be... There's no two ways about it. Like some games have to be sort of sacrificed with the injuries. He said now is an exceptional situation. A lot of players are injured and a lot have played a lot of minutes and they have to rest. He's talking about this in a different way than usual. To me, he's sort of implying that he's gonna be even more change heavy than he usually would be in this competition. Like exceptional situation, as in this isn't what he's usually going to do. You know, like I feel like he's trying to tell us that he's not. He's really trying to stress how much he's not going to take. Like he's making a lot of changes and he's resting players because he has to, and so be it. And it feels like he's trying to tell us something there, doesn't it? To me, as in, don't get your hopes up. It's a bit like when do you know when like Sony will do like a Sony State of Play or Nintendo do Nintendo Direct, and they go, this won't feature any updates on Spider-Man, or Nintendo like, oh this is only indie games, by the way. It's almost like he's trying to tell us in advance, going, yeah, don't expect Erling Haaland. It ain't gonna happen. I might be wrong there, but it sounds like to me like he's trying to tell us, you know, it's going to be painful potentially. Maybe not though. Maybe not. He talked about the training. He said recovery, then a 5-10 minute session. That is all. You can't train not much but we're used to it. Last season was the same. Maybe we'll have 2 or 3 more games with the World Cup, but otherwise it's the same. We're used to it. Yeah, they are used to it. You know, like it comes with the territory. Ultimately, if you're a massive club, you play more games. You know. And that is sort of the other side to the money and fame, you know, and I'm sure they're aware. It's not ideal, it's too much football, but we'll see how it goes. He talks about Phil Foden wanting to win the treble again. Phil's so young, you understand. It's nice to have ambition, but ambition has to be the next game. In May, if you're still in the competitions, you can think about it. Now can be a mistake. He's right, don't take your eye off the ball. Look, there's nothing wrong with dreaming. There's no way that Guardiola goes home and doesn't think about it too. Of course he does. Of course he does. He's a human being. There's not a single manager in the world who doesn't dream about the best things, and Guardiola will be looking ahead. Of course he will. But he has to also give up this. He has to present this idea of focus and being here right now in the moment. Isn't every manager looks ahead? Everyone does, and Guardiola will be thinking, "I want to win it again." Of course he will be, but he's right to also turn everyone's heads and go, "Come here, it's looking that way. Come here, young Phil. Look towards Newcastle. Look towards Wolves. Then May will take care of itself." Which is actually how it goes. But it's great to have that ambition because they are the standards now. You know, he said. I said, don't think the problem is mentally because all the players what they want is to fight for the titles. The problem is the lack of rest. But I guess the context of that question would have been about, you know, are the players ready for it? I don't know. The problem is the lack of rest, mentally especially. This is the problem. Seasons come with a few weeks off, and this isn't the problem. But the players are happy to play and win the games, fighting for the titles. The problem is the lack of rest of years and years. Champions League longer, more teams. This is what it is. He's basically making a point like the players are fine, you know, mentally they're fine. They're just everyone's knackered. They're knackered, you know, and that's sort of it in terms of what he had to say during that press conference. And like he was being very honest, very forthright as always. A world-class speaker, you know, a great manager, which does lead us, of course, to Newcastle a little bit before we get onto the team. Newcastle right now are, they are flying. They've just come off a club record 8-0 victory against Sheffield United, where 8 separate goal scorers, and I fancy that. What are the odds on that? Alexander Isaac, Bruno Guimaraes, Miguel Almiron, Anthony Gordon, Callum Wilson, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, and Sean Longstaff all put a pitiful Sheffield United to the sword. 22 shots and 15 on target. That is how you be clinical. I'd love to see what the XG of that was. But either way, Newcastle, after a good start, then a slow start. Like, if you look at the start of their season so far, it's been a weird one. Like, they started the season 5-1 against Villa really well. Then, of course, they lost to us. Then they lost to Liverpool. Then they lost to Brighton. But since they've turned it around, I mean, losing to us, Liverpool and Brighton is not exactly shameful. But with a team with Champions League aspirations, to lose all three back-to-back, it ain't good and it isn't ideal. And they would have known that. But since then, the response has been good. Of course, beating Brentford is always impressive. We didn't do it last year. And an interesting draw away. They got battered for what it's worth. But a draw away at AC Milan, which I sort of love the... As good as Newcastle are with all that money, and AC Milan aren't even seen as a European powerhouse anymore. I still love that, a Champions League night at the San Siro or whatever. Milan is still it's still got that aura to it. It's just exciting. They got that draw. And of course, he followed that up with an 8-0 win. Newcastle right now, they've got a really strong team, but they've got options. You look at the quality they've got on the pitch there, Almira and Wilson Barnes. The new young lad as well, who's sort of broken out right now, Elliot Anderson. Don't know much about him, but I know everyone sort of rates him right now. But you look at that team with Bruno and Longstaff. There's quite a few players that you'd expect to be involved, just not on the bench, or not playing there. So when you look at the potential changes, look, I mean, that bench is strong, man. They are getting good. Like Livramento, Lewis Hall, Alexander Isak, Gordon, Tonali, Lascelles, Target, Jacob Murphy. Look, Newcastle have got a good team, man. They've got a strong squad. I'm not saying they've got 22 players, which feels something that we haven't got at the moment. We haven't got. And I think Alex Hurst's confidence, which I'm going to play in a second as a Newcastle fan, isn't dumbfounded. These are the words here from Alex Hurst. He's the host of the True Faith Newcastle United podcast. I asked him to send some thoughts over. I'm going to play that clip right now so you can see what the Newcastle fans think ahead of this game.
From a Newcastle perspective, the game against Manchester City, it's a big game on kind of depending on who you speak to. A lot of fans feel like not winning a trophy domestically since 1955 is kind of unfinished business and needs to be sorted as soon as possible, and the League Cup just provides a brilliant opportunity to do that. Should have really won it last season, played a really average Man United side in the final and let them have a very comfortable game. So a lot of Newcastle fans are actually really up for this one. The game, sold out. Well, there's a new ticket system, but it's oversubscribed for tickets, which wouldn't be the case for most clubs in the League Cup this season. I don't think that's just the strength of this opposition as well. Ultimately, I think that it's, where does it lie in Eddie Howe's week or weeks that we've got coming up with the Premier League and the Champions League, probably similarly to Pep Guardiola, not near the top, but that doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean that we don't want to win, that they're not going to try and win. They're going to put up a strong team. They're going to rotate. I wouldn't even call it dropping players. If someone like Kieran Trippier is rested, he's probably being, not dropped, but rested for this one. But a lot of the players who come in will just be kind of natural rotation. They would have come in if it was a Champions League game. They would have come in if it was a league game straight away after the weekend. So I'd expect a strong team from Newcastle, maybe 5-6 changes, but a strong team nonetheless. St James's Park is going to be sold out. I understand Man City have got a really big allocation for this one, so should be a really, really good atmosphere. Obviously, Newcastle have just had a brilliant week, got their season back on track with 3 clean sheets and a mad 8-0 win at Sheffield United. So therefore, it's a big game. What will happen, I don't know. Newcastle at home, they've got a very, very, very strong home record. The only teams to beat Newcastle at home since Eddie Howe came in on Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal. And that Man City defeat was back when we were bottom of the league, which seems like 100 years ago. So can't wait for this one. Should be a class game. I think Newcastle will win 3-2.
Thank you, Alex, for that. I'm not sure we clipped it at the end, but I think you went for a 3-2 Newcastle victory. It's also weird, by the way, sitting there quietly for 2 minutes, Jordan. It just feels like because I can't hear that. I have to listen to it before, and so I sat there in silence. Anyway, Alex, top bloke. And right now, when everything he says about the changes that they'll make, I mean, you can build a team out of the ones that weren't playing at the weekend, and you've still got a midfield there of who's missing there? They've got a couple of injuries. Joe Linton's not available, but Tonali, Gordon, Isaac, Lewis Hall, Livramento come back in. Like, there's a lot of changes that you can make. Target, Lascelles, Dubravka, Jacob Murphy, and it's still a really strong side. So I am sort of a little bit tentative because Newcastle right now they have weirdly more depth to us. Maybe not necessarily the same quality that we've got with 11. But right now they have more depth, and I can't deny that because we're really short. Guardiola did confirm that Kovacic is back, which is obviously wonderful news because we're going to need him. So let's try the impossible, Blues. Let's try the impossible. How on earth do you pick a team for this game of football? Let's put the obvious ones in. Stefan Ortega is going to be our goalkeeper for this game. I would guess Sergio Gomez will play on the left for this game. I'm going to put Lewis here for now. Rico Lewis. Calvin Phillips is 1,000,000,000% going to play. I would guess, given that he needs a bit of football, we could see Jack Grealish get a start. Oscar Bob, I think, will get a start as well. Hear me out. What about, because Doku got 45 minutes, Grealish plays more central ahead of Nunes, maybe? Something like that. Or Kovacic. I think Kovacic will start, and then maybe, I don't know, who hasn't played much. I think, what was our result the other day? Let's have a look. I've forgotten. Ake was on the bench, wasn't he? Yeah, I think Ake will start maybe with Akanji. Ake and Akanji, potentially something like that. And then, of course, Alvarez. It could be this, by the way. It could be that Kyle Walker does start. Rico Lewis sort of plays here, and Oscar Bob is asked to do a false nine thing with Doku on the right and Grealish on the left. Don't be surprised to see Oscar Bob get a sort of tough shift with Alvarez rested. Like, I think it was going to be an interesting one. Rico Lewis sort of playing as an 8 with Nunes. I would be surprised. Kyle isn't playing. Okay, that puts Rico Lewis back over here then. He's definitely playing. So that puts maybe... I go back to my original idea. I'll bring Alvarez back in as the starter. I'll bring Alvarez as... Yeah, Bob over here. Nunes. Something like this, potentially. What do we all reckon? I mean, that feels like the best I can manage, in terms of working out. Alvarez needs a rest, man, but I don't see it. I mean, when I look at the academy lads, like... I just don't know who would be available. Like, I'm going to look at the players that are therefore not playing. Carson will be on the bench. I don't even know. Like, that's... Kovacic could play instead of Grealish. Maybe, yeah. The only thing is, it depends how fit he is. The bench tomorrow is going to be crazy. I don't think Haaland will play. I don't think Walker will play. I don't think Ruben Diaz will play. I don't think Foden will either. I don't know, man. I've got a feeling we'll see. Yeah. Guardiola will definitely be on the bench, of course. And we are getting battered with that lineup, but, Pep said he's not going to waste a minute of energy, so he's going to play something crazy like this. But I think we have to accept that it's going to be a tough game tomorrow. Who captains on that, out of that team? Ake, I would guess. I would give it to Ake, wouldn't you? Nathan Ake would be my choice for captain there. I have all those players. Don't know. It'd be Ake for me, I reckon. I think Ake's been third season now. Really reliable, captain teams before. It's going to be something like that. Foden could play. Phil Foden could play. We could see Kovacic start. Maybe Kovacic gets a start. When I'm talking about young players that could be involved, I think Ndala's been training with the first team a little bit, but I still can't see it, man. 4th season, Ake, is it? Is it 4th season? It's not, is it? Don't make me feel even older than I am. God, it is his 4th season. Wow. God, I completely blanked. I think it's because he went on during COVID a bit of it, isn't it? 4th season for Ake. Yeah, he's definitely him. I love Nathan Ake. What a player. McAtee would have been great for these games. Cole Palmer would have started this game. Already 4 seasons for Ake. That's blown my mind a little bit. When I think about young players that could be involved, like, I'll have a think right now. It's hard to do. I'll go over to, the academy sides and have a look who's been training and playing and stuff like that, and try and, think about some names. But it's definitely not going to be easy, I think people like... Yeah, Justin Abuado is a good striker. He could be him potentially up front. He was great last season for the academy side, but Will Dixon's a good player as well. There's also people like Darden Mescol, academy EDS team will be playing Barnsley today. Okay, well there we go. So they'll be there with that. Like, who do you choose? I mean, I don't even know who you choose. It's really hard to predict. We have got some good young players, but they're so young still. Like, I don't think there's anyone who's obviously ready right now. That's the problem we've got. People like, Emilio Lawrence is a really good winger. I like him a lot. Hamilton, good midfielder. But there's this kid's Galvez potentially, but he's only 17. It's just hard right now. Sousa Howe's a really good DM. Maybe like Josh Adams a little bit older, but he's not even making the EDS side, and he's a couple of years older than some of these lads. So I don't know. We will see either way. I've got a feeling it's going to be a difficult game. Look, if I'm being honest, I'm expecting us to lose this game. Newcastle, St. James's Park, they'll play a strong team. I do think, as Alex said, I think they'll be up for this. I think they'll play a strong team because they want to win it. After coming so close last year, of course, they messed up against United. And I do think that they'll have a little bit too much. I hope I'm wrong, but I can see it being 2-1 personally. I think it's going to be 2-1 Newcastle. I'm hoping to be wrong. I'm hoping that Oscar BOBB has a wonderful, a wonderful performance tomorrow and gets a chance. Calvin Phillips maybe impresses. Jack Grealish or gets a little bit of a run out again and gets his fitness. Maybe Kovacic too as well. I want to see a little bit of Rico Lewis get some football because he deserves it. I'm just hoping that we find a way to get through, or maybe get through on penalties or something, because it's going to be very difficult. 2-all penalties maybe, that would be nice. It might be that Guardiola still just played the odd strong players, but we'll see. I'm tentatively putting us down to go out of this, and I would take going out of this if you won the FIFA Club World Cup, because that'd be great. But I would love a Wembley trip, the Carabao, because it is great. Anyway, guys, that's my predictions. Of course, do let me know what you think is going to happen. If you haven't already, go check out the wonderful video I did this morning where we debated all things Man City. Me and Asa, we talked about Calvin Phillips and Foden and Nunes. It went on for ages. It was great fun. Check that out if you haven't already. Let me know your predictions, your lineups, and so on. I don't know how it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting everywhere. There will be a watch long tomorrow, of course, as well. I'm looking forward to it. For now, though, have a wonderful evening. In a bit, up the Blues, up you treble winners. Like the video, subscribe. Bye-bye.